Hello everyone! First off, I'd like to say I'm sorry for the clickbaity title. Secondly, I'd like to answer that question at the beginning of the video, rather than dragging everything out for the answer. TLDR if you will. This question comes from a comment left on my last video by Patrick W, who asks a lot. He asks a lot, so I'll skip to this main question. Do you think the depiction of eventually but not immediately fatal wounds would be a good thing to see in a game like Ready or Not? It could be depicted as suspects collapsing but getting back up, returning fire while lying on the ground, running away, holding wounds and expiring later, etc. As Ready or Not stands currently, it is incredibly realistic in all aspects. As I've said before in many of my other videos, it is by far my favorite game ever. However, I do think that some of the bullet mechanics as it relates to injuries isn't quite there yet. Currently as it stands, when a suspect takes a shot in any part of their body, they kind of appear to just shrug it off. Even though their character model shows blood where they are hit and are affected in some way or another, it's just missing something. It seems they aren't reacting the way any person hit by a bullet would. In real life, when someone is shot, you would expect them to react pretty soon after they were hit. In Ready or Not, in its current version as of April 2022, when a suspect is hit, they will most of the time make some sort of noise indicating that they have been hit, and start an animation that makes them appear surprised. But sometimes when they're hit, nothing happens. A blood splatter gets put on any of the surfaces around them, and a gunshot hole appears on their character model. But that's about it. When we see people get hit by bullets in real life, the reaction is usually pretty immediate and visceral. Granted, some of the subjects in this game are supposed to be high on drugs of one form or another, so when those characters are hit and they don't seem to react, that actually makes some sense. What doesn't make sense is when I'm aiming for center mass and their arm gets in the way, causing a bullet to strike them in the wrist, and they're still able to use that arm. When we see people get hit like that in real life, they will generally lose some, if not all, capacity to use that limb, as the muscles, tendons, and ligaments holding that limb together in perfect synchronicity are absolutely geeked. Even when people are hit center mass and they have armor on, they tend to need a second to try and catch their breath after taking such a kinetic beating. Like when I've done simunitions training and I got hit in the hand or arm, I've had to take a second to retreat behind cover to assess what happened to myself before re-engaging in the fight.
Okay, fuck. I mean,
I don't understand.
Duck.
It's your hand. You've never been slapped on the hand by a teacher before?
It's your brain's natural defense mechanism to try and assess our body's welfare, and I think that characters within Ready or Not should do the same, except for the instances where you have highly medicated characters. Now, before I continue, I'd like to take this moment right now and clarify that I am not trying to bag on the developers for not implementing what I'm about to suggest yet. The game is still being developed and worked on. Adding something as incredibly complex as a full-scale bullet simulation framework is no easy task. Even then, Void could completely skip making such detailed reaction animations and focus in on individual limb damage and still have a very, very realistic shooter. So, here's my suggestion. Right now there are mechanics for when you are hit in the head, or chest, or arm, or leg, and when that happens, there are real and tangible effects on your character that affect how you play within the game. I think if those effects were readily displayed on the characters we engage with, it would help assist with the realism in Ready or Not. Also, as Patrick mentioned, having suspects that are injured and retreat to attempt to take care of the wounds but die later would be decently accurate to some of the subjects we see in real life as they succumb to blood loss. Seeing suspects hit below the knee, for instance, would almost completely lose the ability to walk as their tibia and fibula in that leg are completely shattered, but they shouldn't die immediately. But then you see this guy get shot 4 times in the forearm and he drops like a sack of potatoes, seemingly out of nowhere. Same thing if he's hit below the knee more than 4 times. With 2 gut shots, most people hitting the lower abdomen are definitely going to be having the worst time in their now incredibly shortened lives, but they won't immediately die, unlike how it is modeled in Ready or Not, unless they're hit in the spine. Now, to be fair, when you hit someone in the heart or head, they go plop, which makes some sense, but I'd also like to see spinal shots implemented as well. When the spinal cord is severed by a bullet, all communication to the rest of the body is cut. That being shown in the game would be awesome. Again, I think what the developers have done so far is absolutely amazing, and I don't want to take away from all the achievements they made in this game so far. But seeing how it is still in development, if I can add my 2 cents, I'd like to do so. I want this game to be the best it can be, because it really does have that X Factor potential. I know I'm being picky, but it's for a good reason. Again, good job developers on your work so far. I'm incredibly excited to see what y'all have in store.
Speaking of which, ooh la la, let's go!
I mean, look at that. Dang. Yes. Oh my gosh. That's gonna be perfect. Yes, please. Yes, sir. Anyway, thank y'all for watching. I really do appreciate it. And always remember our sole objectives. Stop the killing, stop the dying. I'll see y'all later.